developing subtle sensing. This is really a great way to sense deeper into the life that which we are. The mind that we are familiar with and as, that is vibrating at a denser level, and that in regular language means we are identified as our five senses and this body, as if we are the thinking mind as thought. So we live the dynamics of that world. And of course, the thinking mind is conditioned, right? It lives its own concepts. So we are playing in and as that realm. And therefore, this is in response to so many questions that were coming up. And especially now, right, during the holiday season, there is so much that we can find that is happening. And there is a sense of, it can be overwhelming, especially when we are going through this transformation, right, all at the relative level. And therefore, we can sense within us that life is inviting us to a different way of being, a different way of doing. And that can create conflict within us. Because when we are identified as the five sensory mind and its way of thinking, that's the natural way we shift to figure out things. But I've shared this before, the nature of mind is as such that the mind that perceives and creates the problem or the conundrum is not the same state of mind that can really perceive a true solution. We do find, or we think we find solutions, but it's just simply recreating in the same paradigm. To be able to truly observe what is happening, the pattern, is to really kind of step back and pause. That allows us to see our own mind in the way that it's moving, in the way that it is thinking, in the way that it is living its own narrative and its own understanding. And therefore perceiving things in a limited fashion. So that's the first step of stepping back and observing. That can be helpful. And then that allows the mind, because all there is the mind, right? I've shared this before in case this is one of the first videos that you're watching. All there is the mind. And when the mind is vibrating as this experience that we are familiar with, which is the third density body-mind world experience, its vibration is such that we are playing in a frequency that creates this experience of limited awareness, as if I am the body, separate self, and it's all one package, right? The thinking mind, the awareness through our five senses and the world outside. So those are the dynamics, and that's the gross level. What these senses see, perceive, feel, all of this is just at the gross level, at the top surface level. So it really helps to develop subtle sensing. So the gross level, energetically speaking, the gross level experience that we are living, that's why whether it's at the level of the self, at the level of the body, or the thinking mind, if whatever you're going to explore, or we're looking at the outer world, it's one and the same. It's the same mind that is perceiving and experiencing, right? It's a play of masculine dominant energy. It sees things only at the level of form, what is concrete, what can be heard by the ears at the level of the word, you know. Oh, they said this. They cannot sense what is behind, really. Right? So, for all of that, we know, right? We need to kind of pause, kind of feel into it. And that's the feminine. The feminine is the subtle. She's behind. So, as we ourselves take a pause, that is why slow down a little bit wherever it's possible and we can, and create practices that allow for the deeper sensing, like our slowing down the pace of journaling, contemplating, pausing, meditating, just simply creating space to be itself. Instead of rushing through life, again, whenever and wherever possible, right? Then we start sensing life more deeply at a subtler level. And then we can feel life more, even within ourselves, and it's the same phenomena across. Then with others, and then we can see even at the level of the world what is actually happening behind what is arising as the obvious. What is arising is the loud noise. You know, the masculine dominant gross way of living is like at a louder noise. So to kind of really see the subtle or sense the subtle, as there's only mind and there's nothing else, we need to be the subtle. And what that means is that requires us not to be in the thinking mind all the time. It cannot. It only sees its own familiar known world. It only lives the conditions that it is. It'll only interpret through that lens. And then, of course, we create dynamics. And this is in response to so many questions coming up, about during this transformation. One of the things that we are called to is, naturally change our ways of being, relating, relationships. And we are living in a world where, the dynamics of our relationships are set in so many ways that are at that level unconscious, right? At the masculine mind. So then as we change, those start changing. And then that kind of adds to a lot. And especially that comes up generally during these times when we are during holidays and, with family and all of that. So the questions were arising from that. So this can really be helpful. And of course, it's ideal if we do this not at the time that everything is arising. It's when it's in our face. That's why for it to be a lifestyle in some way. So when things are regular, like calmer, right, our regular routine is on, perhaps those are the best times to do this. And that actually is the invitation of this time as well, which of course winter solstice just got done, and now we're shifting soon into the next phase. But it was a time of steeping in, right? Even Mother Nature just going down, right? There's more time to kind of steep within. So subtle sensing allows each mind, each of us, to deeply sense beyond the obvious. Otherwise, we tend to look outside for guidance. And the outer guidance can only go that far. Because our lives are lived by us. The gross mind looks for answers outside. Tell me what to do. Right? But we are living our lives in every moment. Whether it's in all our relationships. And what I mean by relationship is our relationship to our own mind. how we perceive it, our own decisions that we make with our families, with our children, all relationships, everything is relating, right? So it really helps. That's why this subtle sensing, and this actually, if I have to put it in the way that we can sense at the level of mind itself, because it's phenomena. This is it. It's consciousness, that which we are, as manifested self is mind. All there is the mind. So the mind that is, at the surface level as the ocean, which is vibrating, with you can say waves. That's the lens. So when you look through a lens that is completely ripples, there's no clarity. So we see things distorted. And this is the invitation to go deeper. And that is part of the play. I just want to name that because there is really a deep, there's a narrative so strong that it shouldn't be. All is consciousness, and we are here to experience. That which we are, which cannot be named, is appearing and experiencing through, as, from the mind, in the mind. To experience these different ways of being, and that reflects as doing and living, so that we can taste. So every experience, every state of mind is equanimous, unlike what the narrative that we did. And this is really primary and key, because without that, we will always keep wronging where we are. As long as we wrong something, we don't realize, because, as the person, we live this separate. We think the world is outside of us. We think the other is outside. We don't realize at the level of energy. And it's a paradox, At the form, we think we are doing anything, is the energy that is happening within us. I am is what is. So when we look outside, or if we wrong anything, it literally in the body as energy translates to I am wrong. So it's very important, first and foremost, that's why, to stand in this space. Whether I experience it or not, I already am that which all is. Even if my experience is in this moment as a body. Initially, of course, we have to take that as a concept. When we start subtly sensing, that starts to become our reality, lived reality. That's the invitation of these times. First and foremost. And that's why for the personal mind, the invitation always, compassion. Trusting in our own goodness. Even when it might not appear as such. Right? I always speak of the mind, the conditioned mind, the other or the world as one aspect. Because it's really one world. Whether it's our own mind, whether we think another is saying that, or the world is sharing that with us. It's simply the conditioned way of perceiving. So, for the person, that's why the invitation always is look for the goodness that you are. Sharing this with somebody because they were saying, this beautiful thing, do your best, and that kind of sometimes can feel as an angst. And it's better to see it as, how am I already doing my best? Because we are doing at every level. But that's not the reflection we get generally from the conditioned world, right? So, compassion, courage, patience, faith, and trust. These are some of the key key aspects that ultimately in the end only we can give ourselves. Because the truth is that even when sometimes somebody else is offering it, we are not able to receive that. So, giving ourselves that. This is simply play. Simply play. And yes, in that moment it may not feel like that, right? But without vibrating as that, consciousness, that which we are, cannot experience all these things. Cannot experience what is, of course, we label it. I'm saying it's simply energy moving in that way, right? Emotion. There is a range of emotions that we know, which we're familiar with, that the consciousness gets to experience by becoming unconscious, which is simply an illusion, right? Because all there is consciousness. So, experiencing all these flavors of, overwhelm and struggle and suffering, the feeling of stuckness and judgment and fear, all these things, and the good parts as well, as in what we would name as the good parts, and the joy, the excitement, and the way of loving, and all of these beautiful ways of relating, and everything is simply phenomena that I get to experience because I'm vibrating as that. It's just that. That's the deepest invitation in all the shares, is that to see it as phenomena. That I am vibrating as that, so I can experience it. And once it's done experiencing, that's when it naturally kind of shifts. Yeah, so this is in response for, especially these times during holidays, when it really comes up and has been truly life-changing, as we navigate through this, at least for me. Because when we really start to deepen, we are called to take a deeper look at what I am and what is flowing through me, a unique expression, right? It's very dynamic, and that'll ask us to shift in ways that are not familiar with who we have identified ourselves to be. So there's much happening, let me see, and it's once we really see it for what it is, of course, then it's like, oh my God, we came here to play this game. We came here. So holding that, we are waking up, right? And subtle sensing. So I wanted to also kind of do this brief practice for subtle sensing, and do this whenever you have time. A part of this practice is actually an advanced tantric practice. And I want to name that because the mind that we are very familiar with, this thinking mind, if you've not watched my Kali Yuga video, you can watch that. I kind of go into detail into that. When we are moving as this mind, the play, see, the self and the world arises together. So the play for the self and the world, that is the unconscious personal mind, is denser waters. We are moving through thicker waters. So the play itself is effort. The play itself is force. The play itself is, we need to use as if power over. Those are the dynamics. And of course, we see the results of that in so many ways. Ultimately, nothing wrong. That's a way to taste and sense. Okay, I always want to come back to that to make sure. But now we see in the ways that's not working, right? So what happens is, if you're not aware of that, we will use the same mind now to push, to make things happen. And that is exactly the opposite direction of what is going to help us sense subtly, what is actually going to help us, for a lack of better words, see that we are already awakened, right? Or experience that subtler sense, the feminine self. So it takes, that's why it's paradoxical, You say that's why you want to go ahead, you pause. That's why they say you want to go faster, you actually slow down, right? You want more authentic expression, you actually spend time in more silence and stillness. It's that movement. So I wanted to name that because that's one of the reasons why in the advanced tantric method of subtle sensing, which can is so powerful, that's why it's very simple. Most of the practices are very simple, right? And I would even say easy, but it is not simple and easy for only the unconscious third density personal mind, which is the mind that is moving at the level of many. Do I do this? Do I do that? Do I do that? Making things happen, pushing. So it naturally experiences its own nature. It complicates and it doesn't feel easy. So that's why it's the primary thing, the state of being. And if our state of being is here, that's a very different state of being, right? Distortion, no clarity. Our natural decisions from that, doing from that, will be very different than a deeper state of being. All simply phenomena. See this as a mechanism, right? No one way of being or doing is right or wrong. They're just simply different. They get you different results. And if you're done with, being as the unconscious personal mind, and we're seeing the effects of that, and it's not working for us anymore, beautiful, voila, right? The state of mind that has been living as that is now ready for the next. That's what we're seeing. So I want to just name that, because when we do this practice as well, please, no force, no push. And that's why, first and foremost, coming into that space of the heart, right? Dropping down from the head into the heart and saying, okay, no matter what I'm experiencing, what's happening right now, I already am consciousness. I already am. And this is simply a pathway that is opening up for me to see deeper. So we are not doing this practice. I always share this in this is the key that shifted it for me, when I did for years pranayama. This was the radical shift that changes everything actually across, because how we do one thing is how we do anything and everything. And what is that one thing? The state of being, the state of mind, the nature of mind. It's an invitation, no matter what is happening, at the best and however possible, right? Sometimes we just have to flow with it. And that's okay. It is what, it is. But coming from our deepest self, that's the invitation. And then we'll see it applies to everything, right? Because the I that I am, what I'm perceiving, how I'm relating, is how I'm relating with everything, whether it's my own transformation, right? What I believe, our habits that we have, the choices that we're making, because it was coming up, oh my God, I seem to be repeating. And this whole thing about this year getting done, what have I done? And then this 2024 coming up with this energy. Again, I want to name that because I was sharing this about, I'm just opening a small group at the Patreon this time, and many, sharing that there's not, sometimes don't have any time anymore to come in, right? And this pull, oh my God. So look into that mind. That is the most important. This mind, which is tethered to the outer world, to its deadlines, to its time. Time is always limited for it. And And so we develop these patterns of, what we say is FOMO, fear of missing out. No. To awaken to our sovereign self is to know I am. That is my first and foremost. Everything arises from that. To know that as things clear, whenever, whatever we need, the perfect program, the perfect place to be, perfect relationship, everything arises because it's already there for me to perceive when I stand in that space and I'm not grasping. That's the play of the unconscious personal. It's empty and we fill it from outside. So we are constantly tethered. We're retaining, we're gaining, right? It's just that part of the play. This is coming into this. And the second part of that, because yes, at the relative level, it's this 2024 energy, there's this portal opening, all of that. But the truth of it is that our first and primary stance is everything happens within us, as consciousness. We are the portal that we're sensing into. If we start making meaning that it is outside of us and that we may miss out, or we'll make a mistake, or we'll fail at this, or we'll miss the boat. No, honey, we are the boat, we are the waters, we are the journey. If you can sense this within, coming into the body. Trusting our own pace, our own way. It's a delicious way once you just untether from the narratives of the conditioned mind and world. It's an unnameable beauty, to come into your own, knowing that I am the way. You're just this is where it begins. In some way, this is really deep self-love. You see, I'm consciousness so uniquely flowing as this unique love. Wow, what is this? What calls me? What is my pace? You trust that. You trust that. Above all. And the thing is, it all begins with this. The more we deepen into this level of self-love, trust, that's the invitation, we are able to offer that to others and our world. So coming into our sovereign space, right? So I'm going to name this. What is meant for us? We use big words like greatness and destiny and all kind of things. Yes. But if we put anything outside of us, we are adding time, space. And what adds time, space and conditions is the conditioned mind. We put it outside ourselves. Everything is within. That's the miraculous invitation of these times. So it's really coming within, And it's so funny, like the more we come within, the timeless aspect, right? Every moment we are sensing. It's the paradox. The more we do that, the more we evolve. The more the subtle sensing, the more we see we are more than what our gross level mind was living as a person. We experientially wake up to being the soul, not as a concept given to us. We experientially wake up to see, I am awareness within which everything is happening. I am my world. It's a different way that cannot be put into words. And it's that simple. That's why I was sharing with somebody else, because the mind has so many reasons, I'm here, I'm in this situation, I'm there, and I don't have. No. Nothing is needed to experience this. Just come within. Wherever, however, right? in the beginning from our busy lives, a little time, fine. As we start subtly sensing, naturally everything unfolds from there. Our decisions, our way of naturally what we perceive then. See, we don't even see the opportunities. We don't even see the support that is there. We don't even see the love that is there. It truly is that way. When we start subtly sensing, it's not that anything on the outside changes. Our eyes change. So it's really beautiful. So that's earned in, right? So that's why these simple practices look very simple to the mind that wants something big and grand. It wants a year-long program. And somebody else was like, naturally, right? Because it says, oh, I can't do that at this time. I don't have the time. I might not have the money. I don't need any of that. Begin where you are. Trust that. What we need is already here, even before we know that we need it. That is what we are. How can it be otherwise? So being first, the becoming keeps happening. That's part of the play. Being, I am, I already am, right? So steady in that space. One of the things for that I really want to say, want to make it as simple in my journey, the way that I've experienced is, first thing I would do is switch off my thinking mind, which is flying everywhere with its ideas. This is beautiful. Let me tell you, our thinking mind, like I say, sensing of this 2024, all this is beautiful way if you want to play with all of this. If sense within you, if it allows you to feel excitement, to feel expansive. If it constricts, it is unconscious. It is limiting us. And the first thing you do then, because we all have that, right, on different topics, because we are conditioned. In certain ways, very expansive, and then it works beautifully, right? But in certain ways, there are only two states, constriction or expansion, unease or ease, just two states, unconditional or conditional. This is the direct path to see the nature of mind. Direct path. Right? So just feeling into that. So the first thing I do is come into the body. The body is here. At the manifest level, body is the feminine. She's the gateway. Right? She brings us home. She's not running here and there. She is where life is, right here. And even here, I always share masculine all over here, coming to the belly. It really helps, keeping hand on the belly, hand on the heart, spending some time. So that's the first thing. And write it down if this is helpful for you. Literally, I would say the first thing I would start seeing clearly, come into the belly, come into the body. Be, breath. The breath always reflects the state of being, right, in that sense. So just being with the breath, allowing the breath to breathe the body. Just few breaths. That's it. So simple. And then we sense our body as this, it's an energetic sense, right? This awareness. So at the body level also we sense it densely, coming to the subtle. That means, so let's do this, coming to the body. Closing our eyes, being with the breath. Always finding, you're sitting comfortably, whatever and however that is for you. Being with the breath, Not really changing anything, just being with the breath. Like to placing a hand on the belly. This can help connect the breath to the depth in the womb. Steady, stable. You know how newborn breathes from the belly? Just this space, this moment. And now placing attention, if you're called to it, to any part of the body that feels empty. One way is also that, on the spine, we have chakras. And when we are living as the gross, we don't sense the chakras on the spine. But they're already there, okay? We're not making anything happen. So if you're called to it, place gentle attention with an inner smile. We're acknowledging the already there presence of these beautiful chakras. We're not trying to do anything. So just placing attention anywhere on the spine or anywhere in the body. Allow this to be pleasurable for you. It's beautiful, calming, pleasurable. Just being. Now, this simple act of the breath breathing the body and the state of being at the manifest level, the feminine, is our innate nature, a sensual way of being. It's ease, right? It's pleasurable. It's really coming into our own self. Even doing this for a few minutes before going to bed or after we wake up And this we can do, even when we are, when the tummy is full, unlike other things like pranayam, right? Tummy needs to be empty. There are some guidelines around that. But this way, this can be done anytime. In fact, it's very good because that lets all the tension be where the digestive system is as well. So, any place you have a few minutes during your lunch break, you're waiting in the car. I do that all the time when the kids are in class, and many times I'm waiting for a few minutes, then it's just this. Placing the hand, this creates energetic connection. Placing the hand on body parts. It's a very, very feminine, sensual way of being with ourselves. And as you can sense, when we're here, our whole way of being changes. And therefore, a perception, our way of how we may see what is happening changes. And actually, our response to that changes. I want to also share now the tantric practice. And again, I want to remind, please do not force. We're not looking for anything. We're just literally, simply, pleasurably, with gratitude in our heart, actually just placing attention. And this practice really helps with awakening. These were practices used to awaken to that aspect that we're talking about, that we're already awake. Right? That we are not this thinking mind. The person thinks, what is this? That we are the awakened, non-fluctuating awareness. That doesn't come and go. That part. Okay? Naturally happens, but it doesn't happen by force. In fact, this is where the problem is when we see, especially in the field where we are trying to make Kundalini rise. Why? Doesn't our whole energy know when that's going to happen? So that deep trust, when we enter practices, leaving that doer behind that wants to make things happen, things radically shift. Right? Or otherwise, us trying to do things is where we start hearing then Kundalini, we forced and all kind of things happened and it was such a bad experience, and then everybody think that's how it, and then the narrative starts. See, every state of mind is a story. There's no right or wrong, good or bad. Every state of mind is a story, a perception. We need to see, does that resonate to us? So whenever somebody forces, then the story begins. Oh my God, if you have Kundalini, this will happen, that will happen. How do we know? But if our state of being is of trust and ease, moving through that, will life not happen beautifully? That is the invitation. Just a question, no answer to that. Only each mind can kind of pick what resonates. So, same here. What needs to happen will happen, right? We already are. So, let's do this just for a few minutes, closing our eyes. And, the masculine senses, everything is symbolic. Everything is symbolic once we start seeing it. This play of duality, even at the level of the body, if you see, all the senses are facing forward. Right? So this is the Surya side, the sun side, the masculine. Right? During day we get up and during night we sleep. So we think we are awake during the day. It's actually exactly the opposite. Similarly, for this body as well, the masculine sides, so that this experience has to be real as the body, the senses are in the front. All of them, right? Except and it's placed also like that. The ears, right? The feminine is the back. The moon is the back. That is the subconscious. That's where the spine is. That's where the chakras are. What is rotating, what is in the subconscious is actually functioning. We all know that. That is actually driving the conscious. But when we are identified as a conscious mind, we think I am making the decisions and the choices. We don't see it is driven by these hidden things behind, right? So that's another aspect of subtle sensing. So for the for the practice, right, we activate the back, and that's why in the previous practice we placed our attention in the back. So we can do that, closing our eyes, with the breath, placing our attention in the back, feeling our back, light attention wherever. In this practice, placing our attention in the back half of the head, which may feel empty. Like, where do I place attention? It's like empty. It doesn't matter. We're not using the focused masculine attention to do anything. We're just placing loose awareness in the back side of the head. If you want to place it on the scalp, that's fine too. If you want to touch your head, if that helps, that's fine as well. Are we doing anything? No. We're just feeling beautifully back part of the head. If you'd like, just a sense of sacredness in the heart. This body, this experience is a holy temple, a sacred place. And where I place my attention, I come to pay homage, That's why my attention is my devotion. With that sense. As love. Only as love. That's it, just for a few minutes. We're done. We don't need to overextend. We don't need to make anything happen. Please note, we don't need to activate our pineal gland and all of that. And that's why they would say, if you're doing these practices, then you need somebody who knows, in that sense. Just this. It's this simple. Just few minutes a day, whenever you find. Just making sure the state of being is as calm. You're not doing this tethered to any kind of outcome. So then the mind that is pushing, doing, wants to see, is interpreting, did it happen or not, and all of that comes into place. Just letting that be. Do this. Naturally, our energy settles, naturally the mind. The more we do this, naturally we start creating space. It's a natural happening. See, simplifying life, all that, it's great when we hear it from outside, but the true shifts happen when it naturally happens from inside. We feel it for ourselves, not as a force that is given by outside dogma and rules. Right? They're helpful as pointers when somebody shares their own journey. It comes from inside. So naturally we start creating place. We say, no, this feels right for me. And that's where the trust comes in. This feels right for me. The whole world may be going left. But right feels right for me. Right? So then as we start, that's the feminine, right? Really. She's not running. She is. Right? She is the creatrix. She is the womb. She is the divine womb that births everything. So that's why, that this is the energy. So the masculine mind thinks that I want to manifest. She is the birthing. This is the space. The state of being is what appears outside. So, just this. So, as we start finding our space, this naturally we find place. Naturally, the mind, the ripples, relax. This becomes our state of being. More steadier, more steadier. We start sensing the value of this. Why? Everything is phenomena. Suddenly, we start sensing deeper. Our conversations change, our way of perceiving changes, our way of doing changes. Life becomes more intimate, really. Not just at the level of the body, everything. That's the feminine, right? That's the mother nature. That's like the woman says, she embraces. She embraces. She's not fearful to be intimate with life. She can stand in that steady place, honestly. She can see. And the beautiful part about this is she does not demand. That has been one of the biggest things. She does not demand. Her energy itself is her sovereign thing. She does not need to demand and have power over life or another. Her energy welcomes, receives. It's a different state of being, and it's so beautiful. You live like this not because you need anything from outside or you're not tethered. You live like this because how else can one live? You start realizing that. So that's the invitation of these times. Well, I can go on, but so this is the value of subtle sensing that I'd like to invite you into. Because as we move through these holiday times that are coming up and the new year, observe the nature of mind that kind of, feels that angst and the pressure of the loud noises, whether of its own mind or the world, that this needs to happen, that needs to happen, need to do this, need to do that. And then we are running again. No, we don't need to participate. Of course, each mind gets to choose, right? Sovereign self. But if this resonates, I get to choose the way that I live. I get to move, finding that space, and everything will unfold from that. What is this I? So to having a beautiful holiday season, a blessed holiday season if you're celebrating, a very, very happy new year as the new year, 2024 begins, and to knowing that I already am awake, aware, that which is living all of life itself. To living and celebrating an awakened body, mind, world. Thank you for being. Much love.